Now, to be clear, this drumbeat, this willingness to push us closer to a conflict with Russia, it's bipartisan. Today, Democratic Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan called on Joe Biden to transfer ground attack jets to Ukraine. Now, what would happen if these lawmakers had their way? How close are we to crossing red lines or imposing red lines on Russia that they may inadvertently or willingly cross? And now we are too far gone on our way to World War III. Let's ask some critical questions before this train leaves the station. Daniel Davis is a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel. He's also a senior fellow at Defense Priorities. He joins us now to assess. Thank you for being with us. As I listen to these various measures, in a week's time, it's changed. A week ago, we heard about Article 5 and NATO and Russia crossing a red line should they invade Poland. Now we're hearing about war crimes and humanitarian crises, or arming the Ukrainians, or imposing a no-fly zone. It seems like we are making the red line tighter for Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, and you get it, understandable, that when you see Russia invade a country, when you see all of these civilian buildings being destroyed, people dying, civilians, I mean, it's horrible, and everybody wants to help. But we have to be sober and cold about this in terms of understanding where America's interests lie. And nothing is gained by even coming close to a potential red line to where a NATO Article 5 would be initiated and we would have to fight. Because of where this could end up, and if anybody has any doubts about what this would be like, Harry Kazianis published a piece today in the Federalist that talked about a 2019 simulation he took part in that was eerily similar to this, with Russia invading Ukraine. NATO wanted to put in a no-fly zone. Things went sideways, and it ended up in nuclear holocaust. And we got to make sure that that part of the simulation doesn't happen here, and it's all too possible.
Well, I think that's exactly right. We all feel the humanitarian crisis that you referenced. We need to make a rational, though not emotional decision. And when we just throw around no-fly zone, you bring up this simulation. From a no-fly zone, we're shooting down Russian planes, and now we're on our way to nuclear holocaust, according to the simulation which you just shared with us?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And of course, it could happen in any number of ways. If we see Russians, I mean, how much of this is Putin going to lab before he starts interdicting these arms and weapons coming in and maybe kills Western military people? I mean, you see, there's so many things that could go sideways, and we just have to make sure we don't even come close to that line, because expanding would be the worst at all.
Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you for highlighting those issues and helping us understand the truth that Americans should be making decisions for their future. All right, next guest is Todd Wood. He just returned from Ukraine. He had to walk across the Moldovan border and then hitchhike to Romania. Todd Wood is the founder of CDM.Press. He's also
ready to make a deal with Iran. Iran was in a bad position. We were ready to make a deal with them. And China understood they can't buy, or we would not do business with them. They made a fortune off our country, although I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs and taxes on China. First time anybody ever took in 10 cents. We took in hundreds of billions.